The cross is, for me, is the embodiment of burdening suffering. It's like purposeful suffering, actually. It's picking up your cross and bearing that upwards. And I also think, and that ties so well into what Hunter and Rob also just said right now, is you are burdening this responsibility to be able to take care of the people around you. And I think if everyone just picked up their cross and started burdening that forward, I think the world would just be such a better place, you know. And I think that's also the best way to start on your sort of not like self-improvement journey or whatever, but it's like just start. If you don't know where to start like burdening some responsibility, you know. Try and take care of something or someone, or you know, make, like, that's cliche, but make your bed, you know, take the responsibility to make your bed, and then one responsibility leads to another, and the more responsibility you can burden upwards, you know, in a purposeful direction, that's where things are going to start happening for you. And so a great question I would love to answer or ask you guys is, and this is very cliche, but I think it's very important to and really become mindful about this question, because it is cliche, but if you really try and or let this sink in, you can really get a lot out of this. So let's say if you take back your 3 years ago, okay, your 16, 17, 18-year-old self, what would you tell him before you started with business? What is like the number one thing? Like, you have nothing. You have no idea what business you want to do. You don't know what your goal is. What would you tell your younger self with the same conviction as, you know, telling him now to go and buy Bitcoin 10 years ago? You know, that type of conviction, like, bro, just do this and you'll be good. Yeah. You know, what would you tell him?
Yeah. No, and there's a very good image that I want to reference as I answer this question, and it's about 5 to 6 people, and they're all carrying a cross over their shoulder through the desert. They're all carrying it. As they go, there's one person who keeps saying it's too heavy, and he keeps stopping, and he saws off a bit of the cross each time, making it shorter. And he finally gets to the point where it's very easy to drag. And next thing you know, they get to a cliff. And everyone else lays the cross down and is able to walk across to the other side. And the guy that cut it down cannot get to the other side. And so with that, and going back to what I would tell my younger self, is trust and no shortcuts. Because when you're in that state where you have no idea what you want to do, you have no money, you have nothing, you just want a fast and easy way to get there. And I would go back and I would tell myself that the hardships and the trust is what's going to build you to the point where you can get to where you want to get. Because with the trust, you're not going to mind the hardships. And the hardships are what make everybody want to stop, what make everyone want to quit. But when you have the trust and the reliance of God, you're not going to question those hardships, because you know that it's another brick in the path. You know that you're laying this foundation to where you want to go. And when you have these two things that are in your back pocket, everything's going to make sense. You're not going to question anything that happens. You're not going to get scared when things don't go right, because you have the trust and you're just going to keep going. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be a question in your mind of why is this happening? Why is this so hard? You're going to understand why it is.
That's good. I actually want to read this. It's a pretty long one. It was from Alex Omosi, actually, and he's mentioning, and he's like this big nihilist as well. Like, he doesn't believe in anything. No. And they all come back to the biblical principles. Like, just want to read this real quick. So, imagine you're talking to God about the person you want to become. You say, I want to be courageous. God replies, then I will give you monsters to terrify you so that you can conquer them. Yes. You say, I want to be patient. God replies, then I will make you work harder and longer so you can learn to wait. You say, I want to be wise. God replies, then I will give you the failures that will crush your spirit so you can learn the value of judgment. Then you then say, that sounds like a hard life. Can you give me a good life? God replies, just like we measure the quality of a blacksmith by the strength of his steel, I can't quite see this. I measure you by what you are at the end, not the fire and the hammer it took to make you. A good life isn't an easy life. A good life makes you into a good person, and that, my child, is a hard life.
Yes.
So that comes from Omosi.
Yo, that is amazing.
Yo, it's super good. I think tying back way before what Quinton just asked you, Andro, you asked do you think enduring that pain and sacrifice, what do you think of that? I think it's like, just look at this symbol. Just look at what Jesus did for us. He endured all of that for his love for him. And once you understand what this symbol really means, you find peace and serenity in the pain and suffering. So now answering your question, what would I tell myself 2 years ago, a year? I mean, dude, a year and 8 months ago, I had $3 in my bank account. $3. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, F it, I'm gonna do this. and then what I would have told myself is what Hunter said. Just keep going. And tell the truth. Number one, tell the truth and keep going. Because if you tell the truth, you know that the truth... Because if you're struggling with your faith in him and faith in yourself, you can just tell the truth and you get a little bit of both. Because you know that you're telling the truth, so you have confidence in yourself that you're doing the right thing. But then that confidence comes from the faith in him. So, yeah, alignment with the Lord. So if you're struggling with that, just tell the truth and everything will manifest from that. Jordan Peterson says it, don't lie, just tell the truth. Yeah. And I'm so big on that. And then second, like Hunter said, just keep going and just look at this symbol. I mean, you just have to endure every last bit of garbage and nonsense. Dude, another thing is, like, I started my business a year ago almost, and I had probably 2,000 no's, like 2,000, just hundreds of calls, just F you, this sucks, what are you doing, this sucks. And then finally I'm like, and then I kept going, and I kept going. And then finally I had this guy who is now my mentor and the biggest, religious mentor as well, business and religious. And he's like, dude, this shit, this sucks, dude. What are you trying to do selling me this? And then he's like, but if you bought this, I would buy it. Or if you sold this, I would buy it. And I switched my business model. That week, I made $10K. $10K in that week right after. But it all came from keep on going. Tell the truth, keep on going. Because I could have lied to the guy. I could have said, we do this, and told him what he wanted to hear. But it wasn't the truth. And if I told him a lie, then he would have bought something that I didn't have to offer. But since I told him the truth, he's like, dude, this sucks. But if you did this, I would buy it. So if I lied to him, I wouldn't have revealed this blue ocean, business model, this blue ocean. So yeah, a year and 8 months ago when I had $3 in my bank account, tell the truth and keep going. Yeah. It's so simple, so that's cliche, everybody says it, but it's so true.
Yeah, I think I said this in the podcast with Quinton, with our first guest, and I think I realized, I'll maybe even, reform my answer, but I said you have to identify a goal, and you have to fully believe that it's possible to achieve that goal. Now, you can go very deep in that. It's like, how do you believe it's possible? How do you identify a goal? What is a good goal, But if after hearing what you guys have to say now, I think to sort of reform that, or transform that in maybe a better perspective, because if you want to or identify a goal, it's a good way to go back to, okay, what does the Bible say you are and you are capable of being? Because from the previous statement that I made, it's like you have to identify a goal. There's a lot of things that go with that. It's like, okay, what is possible? Can I do it? What is a good goal? What's right and wrong? What should I strive for? What shouldn't I strive for? What is prideful? What is humility? Because a lot of people tend to be like, oh no, money is bad. That's the devil. Like, you should be virtuous and be poor. It's like, what? What do you mean? Like, that's stupid. But I do believe that if you take it back to the Bible, what does God say you are? You are, and that ties in with the belief that it's possible, because then previously I would say you have to believe it's possible. But how do you do that? It's like affirming it's possible. You have to it's so difficult to just believe and give yourself the permission to actually try and achieve your goal. And once again, if you take it back to the Bible and you just go and, okay, why should I believe it's possible? Well, because God said it's capable for you to achieve anything in His name. And so if you truly believe that to be true, everything else will fall into place. And so my previous two statements can all fall away by just saying, following the principles of the Bible, you know. Maybe that is probably the one piece of advice. And to seek first the kingdom, that might tie back into that, you know.
Yes.
Because what is it to seek the kingdom? Well, that's maybe your place to try and figure that out. Go and read the Bible. Try and figure that out for yourself, you know. I think we all try and we all digest it in a different way, and we all want to put sort of like a summed up, like, oh, this is what it means. This is what bro, the Lord can do whatever He wants, and He can say whatever He wants, and we don't really know what He means. You know, that is your way. That's where the Spirit comes in. And where you have to pray about it and connect about it and wait for the Lord to tell you what He meant, you know, via this thing. That's why I also believe that a lot of people that just read the Bible without the Spirit won't get anywhere near out of it as someone who reads it with the Spirit, you know, because that's where it comes from. It's alive. The book is alive.
Yes.
And there's a reason why it's the most sold book. Like, that's the thing that did it for me. When I was reading all the books, you know, my dad actually asked me, like, okay, you're reading Jordan Peterson, you're reading Marcus Aurelius, all these things. Why haven't you read the Bible? It's the most sold book. The most read book in history. And I was like, oh, it's so cliche. It's the Bible. Like, I need to read something like for business.
Yeah.
And when I started reading it, like, it changed my life.